At the after-school program I went to as a kid, they mostly focused on kids playing together and having fun while waiting for their parents to finish work. There was one room though, where they not only had a mountain of VHS tapes, but also a Nintendo GameCube. And the most played game on that system out of the 4 we had was easily Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. At this point, I had played some early PC games and a little bit of Rayman 2 and some other stuff on my aunt's Nintendo 64, but this was new to me. I was 6 years old, the year was 2004, and my mind was completely blown. The speed, the music, the tone, everything was just hitting the right spot, and I was so into it. Of course, couldn't really get to play it much since the older kids were always hogging the GameCube, but I'd still sit on the sidelines, watching. I very vividly remember one of the kids being super hyped about what he referred to as vannbahn, meaning water level in Norwegian, which was referring to Metal Harbor. But since we didn't have a memory card there, we hardly got past the first few levels, and still I never got tired of watching it. At home, I was watching cartoons. I loved Cartoon Network, and old Disney cartoons and Nickelodeon, but there was this Jetix channel. Let's see what it's got going on. And my child brain was blown to bits again. There was a show about Sonic, and I was officially hooked. I watched it every time I could. I even got some of the DVDs from it. I would actually take the DVDs with me to my bed so I could look at the box art. When I closed my eyes, it made it easier for me to visualize and imagine new Sonic X episodes in my head. I managed to get so good at visualizing stuff that I often would just daydream about it in school. I remember really well how hyped me and my friends got over it. I have good memories of running around outside pretending to be Sonic, or gliding on ice and pretending to be Shadow. One of my friends told me he had a Sonic game, and when I visited him, he showed me Sonic Mega Collection Plus for the PlayStation 2. And of all the games he could have chosen, he chose to show me Sonic 3D Blast. And look, I know people have mixed feelings about this game, but I love it, especially the Genesis version, which is what we were playing. I remember how cool I thought the game looked. I liked the style of it. Even back then, I found it to be charming. By this point, I had played Super Nintendo games at friends' and family's places, so I knew what older games looked like. But I never cared about how old a game looked. I cared about it being fun. Don't get me wrong, the game's absolutely got flaws, and I totally understand why some people don't like it. I just find it charming enough for me to be able to look past those flaws and still enjoy the game for what it is. Sadly, sometime after this, there wouldn't be any more Sonic X episodes airing. In Norway, they stopped airing at the first episode of Season 2. For some reason here, they dubbed cartoons in batches of 3 episodes at a time, and the last thing we got to see was Chaos and Sonic fight, with no good conclusion. Sonic kind of faded from my memory around this point. I got tired of seeing the same episodes all the time, and I wasn't paying much attention anymore. While I wanted Sonic games, it wasn't easy to get the games you wanted as a kid. At least I had the Sonic Ultimate Flash game to play. I really loved that back then. I would play it over and over again, unlocking the different characters and just having a good time, trying to go through the levels as fast as possible. Of course, it would take me a long time until I realized that that was actually based off of Sonic Advance 2, which is a game I now adore. But outside of that, I didn't really have anything Sonic related to play. A few years passed, it's 2011, I'm turning 13, and I was spending my summer in France with my mom and my sister visiting a family friend. My sister was getting me into the Resident Evil games at the time, and we were playing Deadly Silence on the DS. Though, lately at that point, I had been thinking of this game from my past. I could faintly remember the streets and the green trees, Sonic running around, and the song that was almost coming to me, but it wasn't quite there. I started searching on YouTube for things that could lead me to it. Something like Sonic City Stage, and there it was. Sonic Adventure 2 City Escape. It filled me with so much joy to see it again. I was excitedly showing it to my sister, saying like, I found it, I found the game we played. A short while later, I'd saved up the money to order it on eBay. I didn't even know about region locking games back then, so I'm lucky I got a PAL copy that worked on my Wii. I played it non-stop, and I was so into it. I remember having so much fun with the Chow Garden, and I got a lot of my friends to name them as well. My friend Marcusau had this one who we named Tigrex, and I know I have some others from other friends, but I'm not sure which is which. And of course mine, Chiyu, my main boy, who I raised with Shadow. I'm so happy I had a complete copy too. I would just regularly browse the manual, trying to recreate the art or reading about the different characters. I just loved this world. Around this time, I was discovering more games in the series, and I remember coming across Sonic Heroes. I loved the intro song so much. I would watch the opening over and over. My friend John came by and I was showing him the intro, expecting him to get excited too, and my sister walked in and asked what we were doing. I explained to my sister that I was just showing him something cool. My sister then asked John, "Do you even care about this stuff?" And John goes, "Not really." I felt really bummed out and embarrassed. I was like, okay, then we can do something else. I just wanted to show you the Sonic Heroes intro. Eventually I would get Sonic Heroes, and I hated it. I didn't think it was fun at all. I still don't to this day. I also got the PS2 version, so it's a bit glitchier. But regardless, it snowballed from there. I found episodes of Sonic X on YouTube, and I binged the whole thing. I got my friend's copy of Sonic Mega Collection Plus, which sadly I've since lost, but I did get the GameCube version. I got Sonic Unleashed on the PS2, and I would later play the Xbox 360 release of the game. The slightly more mature tone of the story really appealed to me, and where I was at the time. I really enjoyed the whole journey, and I found Chip to be very likable. And Sonic's whole attitude of just trying your best, it really spoke to me. I later got Sonic Adventure DX for the 360, and I loved exploring the hub worlds in that game, and it just took off, and I never looked back. It's kind of hard to describe how much the Sonic franchise means to me. I mean, of course I'm into other franchises too. Even as a kid, I was a huge Mario fan. I loved Sly Cooper and Resident Evil, but Sonic was just something really special to me, and I'm glad that I haven't lost that. If anything, I might appreciate the franchise more now than I ever did, and I just think that's great. It's brought me so much joy over the years. Even though the games aren't always great, I think the franchise gets a lot more flack than it deserves. I've even heard some people say that Sonic should have never gone 3D, which is just a fucking awful take. I love these games, and I hope I always will. When you have a special connection to a franchise that's lasted your whole life, that franchise can mean a lot to you, and that's how I feel about Sonic the Hedgehog. It just has such a special place in my heart.